All right, so we have dad jokes first, right?
Yeah, yeah. Why don't you fire away?
And mine's okay. I was a little rushed this morning, so um when does a joke become a dad joke?
When
When it's apparent.
a little play on words. I love it. I love it.
All right, you're up.
Um, so I went into the bank today and an old lady asked the teller to check her balance and I pushed her over.
Yeah, and you got thrown out of the bank.
Yeah. I didn't
Yeah.
have any money in my account anyway, so it's fine.
It sells more houses. That's the whole, yeah. Here we go. We are into May and we are with our favorite lender, Mr. Tim Sisson. How are we doing today, sir?
What a privilege to be your favorite lender. That's so sweet. We've been doing this every month for how
It's been
many
a
years?
long time. Oh yeah, we've been doing this for a while.
Long time.
There was like I couldn't even tell you. I'm gonna have to go back and look now that you say that. I'm actually interested to see how long we've been doing it.
Yeah. Was it
A while.
it was a pre-COVID thing for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
You can tell we're doing it via video here today. It's because our little ones, she may have pink eye, and the last thing I need is the on my conscience that I give it to the Sisson family and it goes through all of you. That's the last thing your household needs is
yeah.
a bout of pink eye. So we're
Yeah, we
we're playing
appreciate
safe.
that because we've had our bouts with pink eye. We have a lot of drops just sitting around at the house for sure.
You guys should borrow them. So yeah, I was playing it safe here today. We're doing it Zoom style. Even though we could have done it in person, I just want to be super careful. Like I said, I don't want that on my conscience. So
As you can tell with what I'm dressed, the way I'm dressed, I was expecting to see you today. I dress
I
up
hear you.
for Billy.
Yeah, no, I hit you up in the morning. I'm like, hey, let's just Zoom in case.
Yeah,
So yeah.
very good. Well, I would like to help them with something else, which is people who own homes that want to
Oh
sell it
yeah.
and buy another one.
Good transitions. That's
Yeah.
good. That's excellent. So we're getting a lot of this right now. So as you and I both know, we cover the topics that we are getting the most. And the one I am getting the most is people that own homes, have a ton of equity in these homes, and want to make that next jump. And it's really difficult, um, timing wise, because contingencies are almost non-existent right now. Like you can't very, very hard to go into the next house with contingent offer. Basically those sellers are going to use that as leverage to get more offers. And that's actually happened to me a few times with my offers.
Yeah.
So we're looking at different options. I know in the past we've talked about bridge loans. So if you want to go back and read those ones, but the one that I think I want to chat with a little bit more today is a HELOC, especially with the people with the equity. How can our HELOCs, if applicable, help us out?
So you can actually apply for a home equity line of credit and not draw it right away. So you can have one almost waiting in the wings. You know, let's say you have a house, you know it's worth $500,000 and you only owe 3 or 350, and you have that delta that you'd like to roll it into that next property. It makes sense. You've worked hard to accrue that equity, and sometimes it's the reason why you make the decision to buy another house. So for me to sit there and tell you, well, you have to make a non-contingent offer to be competitive, and then you go, well, I'd like to use that money for down payment. The home equity line of credit, you can apply early on in the stages of considering to sell and buy a house, and just have it, maybe borrow 150,000 and just have it sitting there and have it as a zero balance. Once you go under contract on that new house, you deploy that to use as your down payment. Then when your current house sells, it pays off the home equity line of credit along with your first mortgage. So it's it, it, with a HELOC, most of the time it's interest only is the minimum payment. But ideally, if your house is going to sell, I mean, you may only make one or two payments max on that home equity line anyways before it's paid off. So it's a very viable option for clients. I mean, the bridge loan is definitely a great option as well. That's more for more significant equity. Um, and then that home equity line of credit is kind of that next level option for somebody.
So the question I get as a follow-up is, does that affect your credit? So having that open home line of credit through a HELOC, that doesn't affect your credit score.
No, I mean it shouldn't, but also it's even if it would by a few points here or there, it's still temporary as well. If you take one out, and you get a few points of if you go from a 750 to a 740, uh, it's not going to affect you long term because first of all, that home equity line of credit is eventually going to be paid off in the next few months. Um, but secondly, it shouldn't, mortgages, having a mortgage added to your credit report is not something that the bureaus look at as a bad thing. Drawing up credit card balances and having late payments and things of that sort, those are the blemishes that you want to stay away from. But opening up an account like that is not something that somebody should worry about, infringing on the credit scores.
So there's two topics we're going to cover, both of them. You just mentioned late payments and so forth. We're going to shift it to that direction. And I still have one more thing we need to chat about as well. But let's take it that direction and say, listen, late payments and getting in over your head with some of these buy now, pay laters really are starting to bite buyers in the butt.
It's been a problem for a while, but it's starting to really come to a head because the American consumer is really struggling. I mean, and everything's very expensive. Inflation has been, sky high for as long as we can remember now. So what has happened is the American consumer is just trying to keep up, and it's just always at your fingertips. I mean, heck, you buy someone on Amazon now, and at the very bottom it says, "Would you like to spread this over 3 payments?" Um, it's a very unhealthy way to pay for things. I would just say that, but it's also becoming difficult from a mortgage perspective because if we see a reoccurring payment, we have to count that in your debt to income ratios. If it's $150 a month, but it's only 3 to 6 months, we still have to use it and make sure that you qualify with it. There was an article recently that the one of the big heads at Bank of America, who service a lot of accounts throughout this country, said that in the month of March, 5.8% of their customers took out buy now, pay later loans. That is a huge number because Bank of America has like 69 million clients.
Seems small, but that is
So
a lot of people.
yeah, so I'm sorry, here it is actually. 8.5% of customers had at least one buy now, pay later transaction just in the month of March. Now, here's the real staggering number. You ready for this?
I am.
Um, they had 0.5% of their customers take out 20 or more, or have 20 or more transactions like that in the month of March. That doesn't sound like a lot, 0.5%. That's
Every day.
345,000 people did it 20 times or more. That's every other day, basically. They're making a purchase and saying, I'll pay for it later.
So everything you buy on Amazon, you're just doing it later.
Yes, 345,000 people did that. So, I mean, that's a staggering number. It's really unhealthy, and it kind of lends itself to the reason why inflation has been such a tough fire to distinguish by the Fed, because Americans just go, it's okay if we don't have money, we'll just pay for it later, and they're getting themselves into a lot of trouble. So that's why, and bringing it back to the real estate world, that's why interest rates haven't come down yet, is because consumer spending is still great. The job market seems to be pretty good. We're not seeing the numbers that we expected by now. It's starting to change a little bit, but we had conversations with clients last year saying that if the Fed continued to hike rates, we would have a recession by now. But Americans just keep spending. They're just spending it on margin, spending debt. It's all debt.
It's all debt. They're just buying and paying it later. So it's false. It's inflated, fake, hollow success in the economy.
Yeah, it's wild. So again, we have these conversations with clients to say, when are rates going to fall down? Or I have clients that come to me and say, we're going to wait until rates come down. The biggest problem with that is we don't know when that's going to be. So if you're in a situation that's just untenable, you have kids and you're running out of space, or you just don't want to be in the area you're in, or just the desire is there. Hey, I've always wanted a 2-car garage because I like to tinker with cars, or I want the yard and I want the pool and things of that sort. Waiting for rates to come down is just, you never know when it's going to be. And then once it happens, we've talked about this before, activity is just going to go through the roof.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll shift that gears then, because we have had seen with the low inventory, it's still really competitive. Like it just is. And so we have buyers that are asking if there's to help them on their end, if there's any like closing help or other grant programs or things to kind of give them a little leg up when making these offers, so that way they can be a little more aggressive? Is there anything in that regard that's out there for them?
Yeah, we actually have a really cool, it's a $3,000 grant from First Home. It's called the First Home Dream Grant. And what that is if you are 80% adjusted median income or less, so 80% of the adjusted median income in the county that you're purchasing in, if you're under that number, we will basically give you $3,000 towards your down payment or closing costs, and it is a forgivable grant, right?
There's no
So
time
that's a
frame.
really cool program.
No time frame. Like just here's your 3 grand.
Here's your 3 grand. It's
What?
just forgiven right off the bat. So it's kind of it's pushing. It's really kind
First
of
homes.
that community reinvestment where we're
Yeah.
pushing it into the community for people who really truly need it.
Right.
And then we still always have that whole menu of products with Maryland Mortgage Program, which is, sometimes you'll have a client that says, I have the money for closing costs and or down payment, but doing both would be a problem. So maybe we do Maryland Mortgage Program and get you money for closing costs so that you have your money for down payment. You can go in and not ask for any closing help and be more competitive that way. So there are a lot of different programs that help with the money piece if you want to be a little bit more competitive.
Okay.
I'd love to go over all of it with anybody that's curious.
It's really dependent on income and profession. Those seems to be the two drivers.
Yeah, there is a product that is geared towards it's Federal Home Loan Bank, community partners. It's nurses, firefighters, police officers, and teachers, and that allows you to get a grant that's forgivable over a certain time frame. You have to stay in the house for that one.
Yeah, that's
So yeah, look, there's a Venn diagram I could tell you of the pros and cons of each one of these programs. Maybe one gives you more money, but has a higher interest rate. So it really, once you become somebody that wants to pursue that, I kind of have to go down the list and explain it to you. USDA is still a product that we try to pursue as often as we can, just because it's such a great loan. So if you have a client that's USDA eligible, go no money down, and they have some money, they just use it for their closing costs. We have a client like that right now, which is it allowed her to be very flexible with her offer.
Yep. And then it gives you every chance, every little bit to get that leg up.
Yeah.
Because a lot of our first time buyers, a lot of the young buyers, once they find the one that works for them, they're hopping on it because they go out and they see, and we know that the prices of the homes are up. I mean, there's nothing, but if they can get their foot in the door now, that seems to be that's the trend. And if they can create a great plan of the next 3 to 5 years where they want to be, maybe some repairs, maybe some updates, maybe getting some sweat equity, we're really setting a lot of these folks up for success by just getting their foot in the door,
Yeah.
you know.
The one thing I see a lot of now is gifting, and that hasn't really changed. It's maybe accelerated a little bit the last few years. I would equate it to just sort of, people in that retirement age in your family who
Funny.
has done really well in the stock market or what have you. They've accrued a lot of equity in their properties and they've built a lot of wealth. They realize that it's very hard for young people right now to purchase a home. So once those conversations are had around Thanksgiving and things of that sort, you tend to have, I have a lot of clients that have family members that are helping them. So that is something that we can accommodate from a mortgage perspective. You can get a gift for down payment and closing costs.
Cool. That's it. It seems to be the trend. I mean, there's not a ton. Those seems to be the big topics right now. Honestly, I think in this economy, with this market, everything's become very simplified. Like there's no complexities right now. It's very like, here's where you get the money, here's where you can get the money, here's your small list of houses you can choose from. Like it's very simplified right now, which I think kind of makes it easier for a lot of buyers. The only complicated part really is on the seller side that are looking to buy, and how are they going to manage that? Are they going to try to get out of the house and rent for a little bit? Or are they going to try to, do a HELOC or maybe do a bridge loan? That is about as complicated as it gets. But I think with the pressure on this economy, it's really simplified, I think, for people.
Yeah, you can kind of go down the list and say, here are all your options as a home seller and
Yeah.
how you can purchase one. A1 is you put your house on the market, sell it, move into a short-term rental, and then go to buy something. But we understand that that's very difficult. Then you have the rent back conversation,
Yep.
seller's home of choice addendums and things of that
Yep.
sort. So there are terms that you can put in there when you go to sell your house, or just different logistical levers you can pull that will allow you to be non-contingent and be competitive. But if you're unable to do any of those, there are secondary financing options like a bridge loan, like a home equity line of credit that can allow you to do it as well. So when you talk to Billy, it's, hey, here are all of your options. Pick the one that works best for you.
Yeah, and that's kind of, it seems like that's where we're at right now.
Mhm.
Here's the things we can do. So
Yeah,
awesome, sir. We
very good.
appreciate you. We
Absolutely.
as May hits into the spring, we know that there's like a little every I can't explain why, but every year around graduation, there's a lull where like everything just flatlines and is done. And then after graduation, things pick back up again. So we're getting close to that like little dead spot. So if you're a buyer, keep that in mind. Like for some reason, there's a dead spot around graduation time. Maybe that's your chance to sneak in and make an offer on a house you've been keeping your eye on, or that just came on the market and there's not going to be a lot of people hopping on that right away. It's a weird trend that I've seen over the last 20 years.
Yeah, I would say that that's absolutely accurate. The ebbs and flows, even within a given month, can sometimes be tangible. That we always say spring market, but it's a little bit more nuanced than that. So yeah, just I think it's best to just have the conversation with Billy, start to get your MLS, whatever listing service you use set up so you get those listings, and then you can find those little pockets of opportunity throughout the year.
Yeah, you can, certainly can. All right, sir. We appreciate you. And we have the Father's Day event coming up next, so everybody keep their eyes open. I'm trying to get that underway now that we finished up the food truck festival, and we appreciate your sponsorship on that. And
Absolutely.
there's always something going on, right? We can't sit still. Like there's always something. Like there's no rest for the weary.
Yeah, I mean, certainly with this business, kids, events, everything we have going on, but it's fun. Every day's different. I love it.
All
Yeah,
right, sir. We appreciate you, and we'll
yeah,
see
you're
you
welcome.
again next month.
See you in June.